Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, it is so great to have you. I'm Antoinette, a New Zealander living in the beautiful wine region of Lower Franconia, Germany. In this video today, I'm going to be talking about a pretty common topic of conversation amongst expats living in Germany, and that is the topic of the German stare. So Germans are known to stare quite a lot, and I find it quite interesting because Germans most of the time don't even know they're doing it, and they always are quite confused when this topic is brought up. Whenever expats in Germany bring up this topic on YouTube, you will often find the same kind of comments from Germans saying things like, "What are you talking about? We don't do that," or "Thank you for bringing this up because I didn't even notice that I do that, and now you mention it, I do stare, and maybe this is a German thing." And I have to say it is definitely a German thing, because in New Zealand, where I come from, staring is considered a bit weird or rude. It's just not something that is considered socially acceptable in New Zealand, and people don't react very well to people staring at them. But in Germany, it is not considered rude. It is something completely normal, and most Germans do this subconsciously. And I thought it might be quite interesting to talk about some of the reasons why Germans stare. And don't get me wrong, not all Germans stare. This is just something that many Germans do, and many expats in Germany or non-Germans notice it and talk about it. So just to clear things up, the definition of the German stare, according to Google, is the Germanic stare or the German stare is a term used by expats and visitors in Germany to describe the perceived intense and prolonged eye contact that is common in Germany. I would describe the German stare as kind of like a neutral stare, where you don't know whether they approve of what you're doing or whether they don't approve. Just kind of like this, I wouldn't say a blank stare, just kind of like a neutral stare, where you just can't work out what they're thinking. That's how I would describe it. So anyway, I have worked out over the years there are many reasons why a German might be staring at you, and this is just my opinion, but I think I have this pretty spot on. So, in no particular order, one of the reasons why a German may be staring at you is because they find you attractive. And I have come to this conclusion because after talking with many expats in Germany about how they met their German partner, most of them will tell you that their German partner, before they got to know them, was kind of staring at them. And this is actually the case for me. My husband, I met him in New Zealand. It's a long story. He was backpacking around New Zealand for a year, and we randomly met in a bar in Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. And I have talked about the fact that he was staring at me, and I was thinking, what is he thinking? Is he interested in me? Does he think I look weird? It turned out he was staring at me because obviously he was interested, and I was not used to that. Growing up in New Zealand, guys, if they're interested in you, they will let you know about it. So it's very, very common in New Zealand. You know, when you're super young, when you're in your 20s, your teens, you will get a lot of wolf whistles as a female in New Zealand. It's really normal for a young woman in New Zealand to be walking along the street, either alone or with a group of girlfriends, and a car drives past with a bunch of guys, and they will toot the horn and yell out like woohoo, or like wolf whistle even. I think that's even still a thing in New Zealand. Guys in New Zealand, and probably in most Anglo-Saxon countries, can be very flirtatious when they're interested in a girl, and German guys are not very flirtatious at all, and it's really hard to tell whether they're interested in you or not. And I know this because I've talked to so many expats who have German partners, husbands, who have just all said the same thing. They could not tell whether this guy was interested, even though they were staring, they couldn't work out why they were staring. Since living in Germany and really getting to understand German culture and mentality, I've realized that German men in general are so respectful of women, especially in the dating scene. Most German men wouldn't dream of wolf whistling to a girl they find attractive, or just kind of like flirting really heavily with a girl at a bar. They are more reserved when it comes to flirting. I'm sure there are a lot of German men that do flirt a lot, but it is well known that German men are, they say, not good at flirting, but for me, I think it's more of a respect thing, because, you know, they do have respect for these women and they don't want to come across as sleazy or, you know, too pushy. A German man will most likely just kind of stand back a little bit and make eye contact with that female they find attractive, and I guess you could say stare at them. And this is something considered totally acceptable in Germany and pretty normal. Another reason why Germans may be staring at you is because they are genuinely really curious about you, especially if you're from another country. So obviously I'm from New Zealand, and often when I am speaking English in public, particularly with my children, Germans will just stare at me because they are interested, they are curious. They're probably wondering, where is this person from, and trying to work out maybe my accent, and they are just genuinely curious. And it's not the fact that, you know, they disapprove of me. I don't get that feeling. It's more that they are just wondering, you know, what am I doing in Germany, and what country am I from. And also Germans, you know, most Germans speak some level of English, so they're kind of trying to work out what I'm saying. Also, I live in a small town, so there are not many English speaking natives living around here, and I have realized, you know, someone's staring at me, they're just curious. And Germans in general are very inquisitive, curious people. If something's a little bit different, they want to find out why, and they're just interested. As simple as that. So another reason why a German may be staring at you is because you could be dressed a little bit differently to what they are used to. And I think this varies depending on where you are living in Germany, because I know in big cities like Berlin, it is totally normal to see people dressed in all sorts of different styles, and people in, you know, the bigger cities are a lot more expressive with how they present themselves and what they choose to wear. But in the small towns and villages, if you are dressed a little bit different, then you are definitely going to get stared at. So for example, I live in Lower Franconia, Bavaria, which is considered one of the most conservative areas of Germany, and people have a pretty distinctive way of dressing. I've talked about this in other videos, but many Germans dress in a pretty casual, sort of comfortable way. So it's all about comfort and practicality. They like to wear a lot of neutral colours, not too loud. And, you know, if you want to experiment a little bit with fashion around here, then you definitely can expect somebody to stare at you. So for me, I absolutely love fashion, and I don't think what I wear is ever very outrageous, but just say, you know, if I want to wear something a little bit out of the box. I've got these really cute little Lady Jane style flats that I've worn a couple of times, and both times I've worn them I felt a little bit self-conscious because people just stare at me because they're not something you would see most Germans wear. And I don't know, I feel a little bit weird wearing them. I probably shouldn't care, but that's an example of when somebody will stare at me. Or I've got a couple of quite, I wouldn't say outrageous, but kind of different sunglasses, and I always get stared at when I wear these particular sunglasses. And I don't know if I'm dressed up a little bit too much, well, for German standards. Say in summertime I'm wearing like a like a long maxi dress or something like that, people will just be fascinated, like, why is she wearing this maxi dress? Like, isn't she too dressed up? Or I don't know what they're thinking. And actually recently, one of the mothers at kindergarten, I don't know this lady very well, but I noticed that she often will stare at me when I drop my son off at kindergarten in the morning. And then one afternoon at kindergarten pickup, she came over to me and I was wondering what she was going to say, and she said to me, I just want to tell you, you have a really great fashion sense. I really, really like your style. And she asked me where I buy most of my clothes, and I was like, oh, that is really, really nice of her. I was really surprised, and then it just kind of clicked. She was staring at me because she was just checking out my outfit and she liked what I was wearing. So yeah, it made me sort of rethink other interactions I've had with people when, you know, I've seen people staring at me and thinking that they're looking at me in disapproval, but maybe they were looking at me because they liked my jeans or something like that. Who knows? But that may be a reason why a German is staring at you. And this one may surprise you a little bit, but another reason why a German might be staring at you is because they are actually really shy and have a little bit of social anxiety. And you know, you think if a person's staring at you, they're not shy, but I've realized that, you know, staring at somebody in Germany is normal, and maybe that person is doing that because they are afraid or feeling a little bit nervous or socially anxious to talk to you or, I don't know, communicate with you, and so the stare is something more comfortable for them. An example of this is I've had Germans write to me and say that they saw me out and about somewhere and they were too shy to come up and say hi, but they will message me on Instagram after and tell me, I was actually that person staring at you. And it would make complete sense because, you know, I would have noticed somebody staring at me and not realized why. And then I realized they're staring at me because, you know, they recognize me and they feel too nervous or, you know, shy to come up and talk to me. And that may be the case also, you know, in a social setting in Germany. Maybe you are at, I don't know, a kindergarten meeting with all the other parents and one of the parents is staring at you. It's because they don't really know if they should talk to you or they shouldn't, so they just kind of stare. That's something I've noticed. Okay, last but not least, another reason why a German might be staring at you is because you are breaking the rules or you are doing something that they do not approve of. So for example, I remember being out at a restaurant for lunch with a group of some friends that I'd met at language school, and we were all from different countries, and there were a couple of Americans there who were extremely loud in the restaurant, talking at the top of their voices. I remember there was a group of Germans at the table next to us who were just staring, and it was a kind of a stare. This was more of a stare where they looked like they did not approve of what was happening. For me, I feel like I'm quite, I don't know, socially aware of the fact that some people might be annoyed by certain things, but some people don't really pick up on the fact that, you know, they're talking super loud and it's annoying people around them. I just remember one of these people who I was having lunch with made a comment, why are they staring? And I knew that they were staring because they just kind of wanted this person to stop talking and maybe lower their voice a little bit. Also, I've seen people having really loud conversations on public transport and Germans will just stare at them, and it's because they disapprove of what they are doing. But honestly, it can be so confusing here in Germany. You sometimes don't know why a German is staring at you. Are they staring at you because they think you're attractive, they like what you're wearing, or are they staring at you because they disapprove of what you're doing? Sometimes it can be really hard to tell. If you're German and you're watching this, I would love to hear some of your opinions on this topic. Did you realize that this is considered kind of a German thing, the German stare? Is this something that you do subconsciously without even realizing, or is this something that you don't do and you consider rude or unusual? So if you're German, I would love to hear your feedback in my comment section below. Also, if you're an expat, a foreigner living in Germany, I would love to hear your experiences with the German stare. Do you think I'm right with my observations about the German stare, or do you think I'm totally wrong and I've completely missed the mark? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out my channel and it helps get my videos out there and noticed. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love you to consider subscribing. That would mean the world to me. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram, and I will see you again really soon. Bye!